Imagine standing on a world that is being eaten alive by its own mother. Every single second, the ground beneath your boots is rising and falling like the chest of a giant, stretched and pulled by an invisible force so strong it could snap a planet in half. This is a land of fire and poison, where the mountains don't just sit there, they explode with enough fury to paint the stars in sulfur.
Imagine standing on a world that is being eaten alive by its own mother. Every second, the ground beneath your feet rises and falls like the chest of a giant, stretched and pulled by an invisible force so powerful it could tear a planet in half. This is Io. A land of fire and poison, where mountains don't simply sit in silence, they explode. They erupt with such violence that they can throw sulfur and ash hundreds of kilometers into space. From far away, Io looks almost unreal, like a bruised world painted in sickly yellows, deep purples, burnt oranges, and angry reds. But the closer you get, the more unsettling the truth becomes. This is not a dead rock drifting quietly through space. This is a world that is alive and constantly breaking. A moon trapped in a cosmic tug-of-war that never stops. On one side is Jupiter, a giant so massive that its gravity stretches across space like invisible hands, gripping Io and refusing to let go. On the other is Europa and Ganymede, pulling back. And together, these forces do something disturbing. They don't just move the moon, they squeeze it relentlessly. Think of a piece of metal being bent back and forth until it begins to heat up. Now imagine that metal is an entire world made of rock. The ground itself is being slowly kneaded over and over again. Deep below the surface, rock grinds against rock, generating heat so intense that the inside of Io has become a vast ocean of molten stone. There is no stillness here. While Earth feels stable and calm, Io is constantly shifting, rising and falling like the surface of a boiling liquid. And if you were standing there, you wouldn't just hear the wind.
You would hear the crust itself groaning beneath you, cracking, healing, and cracking again, over and over. It would feel like the entire world was alive. Io is a beautiful nightmare, a place where the idea of a quiet, lifeless moon simply does not exist. All of that trapped heat is trying to escape, and just beneath the surface, pressure is building, waiting for the smallest crack to tear the ground apart. This is the rhythm of a breaking world, a moon that is slowly melting under the constant pull of the giant planet beside it. A masterpiece shaped by gravity, and at the same time, slowly destroyed by it. Because on Io, the same force that keeps it in orbit is also the force trying to tear it apart.
Step onto the surface of Io, and you're not stepping onto solid ground. You're stepping onto a world that never stops changing. The colors are so intense they almost feel unreal. Vivid oranges, deep reds, and a pale yellow that stretches across the surface like a dusty veil. That yellow is sulfur, a toxic element that would fill the air with a sharp, choking smell, like thousands of burnt matches. There are no impact craters here, no lasting scars, because the surface is constantly renewing itself, erasing its own past. Io is a world without memory. Everywhere you look, the ground is fractured, pulled apart, torn open, and beneath it, something glows, a deep orange light. molten rock moving just below the surface like blood beneath skin. In some places, this heat breaks through completely, forming vast lakes of lava large enough to swallow entire cities. One of them is known as Loki, a massive, restless sea of fire that slowly shifts and changes over time. It doesn't just sit still, it moves. The surface cools, hardens, and then suddenly collapses, exposing fresh lava beneath it. A slow, repeating cycle of destruction and renewal. But the most striking features on Io are its volcanoes. On Earth, volcanoes sleep for decades, sometimes centuries.
On Io, they never rest. They erupt continuously. Not just flowing lava, but powerful plumes of gas and dust that shoot far above the surface, reaching into space itself. From a distance, they look almost delicate, like wide, glowing umbrellas of blue and white. But what falls back down is anything but gentle. Particles of sulfur and ash drift back to the ground, covering everything again and again. A constant cycle of eruption and burial. If this kind of extreme world fascinates you, there's much more to explore. Because Io is not just a place, it's an experience. Imagine standing there, the ground beneath you trembling, a deep, low vibration that you don't just hear, but feel through your entire body. Heat radiating from one direction, cold pressing in from another. A place where extremes exist side by side. Even the mountains here are different. They are not shaped slowly over time. They are pushed upward by immense internal pressure, rising suddenly from the surface. Sharp, uneven peaks that tower over the chaotic landscape. Nothing here stays still. Nothing remains unchanged. To stand on Io is to witness a world in constant motion, a place that refuses to settle, a moon that refuses to be silent. It is not calm. It is not stable. It is alive in the most violent way imaginable. A masterpiece of destruction, where every color you see is a sign of the fire burning beneath the surface.
If you were standing on the burning plains of Io and looked up into the sky, you wouldn't see distant stars. You wouldn't see a quiet, empty darkness. You would see Jupiter, a massive wall of swirling clouds filling a huge portion of the sky. From this distance, it doesn't feel like a planet. It feels overwhelming, like something watching. Always there, always present. Jupiter is not just nearby, it dominates everything, hanging in the sky like a silent giant. But its presence is more than visual. It reaches far beyond what you can see. Io is trapped inside Jupiter's magnetic field, a region so powerful it surrounds the moon like an invisible storm. A storm made of energy, constant, unforgiving. As Io's volcanoes erupt, they don't just reshape the surface, they send material into space. Gas, dust, charged particles, all of it pulled into orbit around Jupiter, forming a vast, invisible ring that circles the planet. A structure created entirely from Io itself. It follows the moon, connected to it, like a trail that never fades. In a way, Io is slowly giving itself away, piece by piece. Every eruption sends something outward. Every explosion takes something with it. Over time, the moon changes, not suddenly, but constantly, quietly losing small parts of itself to the space around it. And yet, there is something strangely calm about all of this. Not peaceful in a gentle way, but steady, unavoidable. Io is not resisting what is happening to it. It simply exists within it, doing exactly what its nature demands. There is no pause, no escape,
only continuation. It is a world shaped by forces it cannot control, and yet it continues, erupting, shifting, glowing in the dark. And maybe that is what makes it so compelling. Because Io is not silent, it is not still, it is not lifeless, it is active, relentless, a place where destruction and creation happen at the same time, where heat fights against the cold of space and refuses to disappear. When sunlight fades and Jupiter casts its shadow across the surface, the only light that remains comes from the lava itself, a dim, constant glow, scattered across the landscape. And in that moment, Io doesn't feel like just a moon. It feels like something else, a presence, a pulse, a reminder that even in the coldest parts of the universe, something is always burning.